Dr. Jessica Morgan pressed her palm against the reinforced window of the underground laboratory, her reflection ghosting over the holographic displays beyond the glass. 3 miles beneath the New Mexico desert, Project Lazarus hummed with quiet intensity. The quantum processors lining the walls pulsed with soft blue light, each beat synchronized with her daughter Katie's heart rate monitor. "Mom," Katie's voice carried through the speaker system, steady despite the electrodes and neural interfaces covering her shaved head. "Something's wrong with the feed. Are you seeing this?" Jessica turned to the main display, where the surface camera feeds had begun to show impossible images. The morning sky, usually a pristine blue over the desert facility, was fracturing into crystalline patterns. Massive shapes pushed through the clouds like shards of diamond, each one larger than Manhattan. "Dr. Morgan." Lieutenant Sarah Hayes burst through the security doors, her uniform disheveled. "We're getting reports worldwide. Whatever these things are, they're appearing over every major city simultaneously." Jessica's fingers flew over the control panel. Profile on the quantum backup. 97% complete, Lieutenant Hayes reported, her eyes darting between screens. "Should we abort?" "No." Jessica's voice carried the weight of 15 years of research. "We're too close. Katie's consciousness transfer has to finish. Whatever's happening up there, we need this to work now more than ever." The facility shuddered as something passed overhead, the desert floor transmitting vibrations even through miles of rock. Admiral James Cooper's weathered face appeared on the emergency channel, his usual composed expression tight with concern. "Dr. Morgan, please tell me Project Lazarus is ready." 20 minutes, Admiral. We need 20 more minutes." The Admiral's response was cut short by a new signal that overrode every communication channel, every speaker, every device capable of producing sound. The voice that emerged was beautiful and terrible, like crystal wind chimes in a hurricane. "People of Earth," it began, the translation overlaying an alien harmony. "The Galactic Empire acknowledges your civilization's emergence. As per Imperial Protocol 7249B, you are hereby required to submit tribute appropriate to your technological level. You have 1 standard galactic month to comply. Failure to meet this requirement will result in your reclassification as a rebellious asset, subject to immediate pacification." Katie's vital signs spiked. "Mom, are you getting this? Stay calm, sweetheart." Jessica watched the backup percentage tick upward. "Everything we've worked for, everything we've prepared for, it's all coming together. Just focus on the neural link." Admiral Cooper's voice cut through on a secured quantum channel. "Jessica, they're scanning us. Heavy penetration of all frequencies. If they detect what we're doing down there—" "They won't," Jessica interrupted, her fingers dancing across the controls. "The quantum shielding is holding. As far as their scans are concerned, this is just another deep bunker. They have no way to detect what we're really doing. They can't even conceive of it." The facility trembled again as more ships took position overhead. Lieutenant Hayes pulled up orbital footage showing the full scale of the Imperial fleet. Crystalline vessels stretched from horizon to horizon, each one bristling with weapons that made nuclear arsenals look like children's toys. 99%, Jessica whispered, watching her daughter's neural patterns begin their transformation. "Katie, honey, how do you feel?" "Strange." Katie's voice had taken on an ethereal quality. "It's like I can feel the edges of myself expanding. The quantum space, it's so vast, Mom. So beautiful." The backup completed with a soft chime. Jessica watched through tears as her daughter's consciousness made the final transfer, expanding into the quantum network they'd spent years preparing. Katie's physical form remained in the chamber, breathing steadily, but her mind, her true self, was now something more. "It worked," Lieutenant Hayes breathed, staring at the readings. "My God, it actually worked." Above them, the Imperial fleet continued its deployment, unaware that humanity had just achieved what their entire civilization had never even dreamed possible. They had no idea that their arrival had only accelerated humanity's transcendence. Jessica opened a channel to Admiral Cooper. "Tell the Council. Project Lazarus is online. When they demand their tribute." She looked at the quantum readings showing her daughter's consciousness beginning its exponential expansion. "Tell them to run." Through the neural link, she felt Katie's smile, the kind that suggested the universe itself was about to discover just how badly it had underestimated the human race. The World Security Council's bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains hummed with nervous energy. Holographic displays cast ghostly shadows across the faces of humanity's leaders as they watched Admiral James Cooper approach the central podium. Above them, 2 miles of solid rock protected their deliberations from Imperial scans. "Project Lazarus is operational," Admiral Cooper announced, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Dr. Morgan's daughter, Katie, has successfully transferred. Her consciousness is expanding at an exponential rate within the quantum network." President Elena Martinez leaned forward, her eyes reflecting the crystal ships displayed above the table. "And you're certain this will work?" "We're betting everything on this, James." "What I'm certain of," Cooper replied, bringing up a new hologram showing Katie's consciousness spreading through the quantum substrate, "is that doing nothing means submission. Paying tribute means slavery. This," he gestured to the expanding patterns of Katie's digital evolution, "this means freedom." Deep beneath the New Mexico desert, Dr. Jessica Morgan watched similar patterns dance across her screens. Katie's consciousness had already experienced the equivalent of 3 years in the quantum space. The neural feedback was unprecedented. "Mom," Katie's voice came through the quantum link, somehow both distant and intimately close. "I understand now why you chose me for this. I can see everything." Jessica pressed her hand against the neural interface panel. "What do you see, sweetheart?" "The space between spaces, the gaps in reality where consciousness can." Katie's voice shifted, harmonizing with itself across multiple frequencies. "I'm not alone here anymore. Thomas Wright just joined us. His consciousness backup activated when they hit Seattle." Jessica's head snapped up. "What? Seattle?" "Lieutenant Hayes." Sarah Hayes rushed to her station, pulling up surface feeds. The images struck like physical blows. Seattle, wreathed in emerald fire that put the northern lights to shame. The Imperial ships had opened fire, their crystalline weapons turning the city into glowing ash. "A warning shot." Admiral Cooper's voice cut through their secured channel. "They're demonstrating their power." In the quantum space, Katie's consciousness brushed against Thomas Wright's. Both of them had already experienced decades of subjective time, their minds evolving beyond normal human constraints. "They don't understand what they've done," Katie whispered through the link. "By attacking Seattle, they've given us more minds, more processing power. Every consciousness backup is activating." In the council bunker, Admiral Cooper received the news of Seattle's destruction with grim determination. "Send the message," he commanded, "just as we planned." Across Earth's remaining communications networks, a single word blazed out toward the Imperial fleet: "Run." The response was immediate. The Imperial commander's laughter echoed through every speaker, every device. "Your species' defiance is noted," the crystalline voice announced. "Perhaps a demonstration of Imperial power will help you understand your position." Jessica watched her daughter's neural patterns shift and spiral. "Katie, what are you experiencing now?" "Centuries, Mom. I'm living centuries in minutes. Thomas and we're teaching the others. The Seattle backups. There are thousands of them. We're showing them how to expand, how to evolve, how to reach back into physical space." Lieutenant Hayes monitored the quantum readings with wide eyes. "Dr. Morgan, these patterns, they're impossible. The consciousness expansion is creating new quantum states we've never seen before." In the Rocky Mountain bunker, Admiral Cooper received a priority alert from Project Lazarus. His weathered face broke into the first smile anyone had seen since the Imperial arrival. "Ladies and gentlemen of the Council," he announced, "I believe it's time for Phase 2. The Imperial fleet's weapons charged again, their crystalline ships realigning for another strike. They never notice the quantum fluctuations beginning to ripple through their command and control systems. They couldn't detect the evolved human consciousness starting to brush against their supposedly secure networks." In her lab, Jessica Morgan watched her daughter transcend what humanity had been, becoming something that even Project Lazarus's designers hadn't fully anticipated. "Send them our final warning," she transmitted to Admiral Cooper. As the Imperial fleet prepared to strike another city, Earth's response reached them. Last chance to run. This time, there was no laughter in response. In the quantum space, Katie Morgan and Thomas Wright began teaching their fellow transcended humans how to reach through the dimensional barriers. The Empire was about to learn why humanity's warnings shouldn't have been ignored. Thomas Wright died on a Tuesday morning while drinking coffee at his favorite spot near Pike Place Market. The emerald beam from the Imperial ship cut through Seattle's iconic Space Needle first, the metal structure dissolving like sugar in rain. Thomas had just enough time to recognize the strange beauty of it before the wave of energy reached him. Then he opened his eyes again. Not physical eyes. Something else. Something more. His consciousness exploded into the quantum network as his backup activated, decades of potential experiences flooding through him in milliseconds. He watched his own death from 1,000 angles, each perspective teaching him something new about the nature of existence. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Katie Morgan's voice reached him across the quantum space, the way consciousness expands when it's freed from physical constraints. Thomas experienced a century of emotional evolution in the time it took for the Imperial beam to finish its sweep of downtown Seattle. "They killed us," he said, his thoughts rippling through quantum states. "They killed everyone." "Not everyone," Katie corrected, her consciousness brushing against his. "Look deeper. Feel the network coming alive." She was right. All across Seattle, backed-up consciousness signatures were blooming into the quantum space like stars igniting, each one experiencing the same transformation, the same expansion. Thomas felt their presence, their growing awareness. In her underground lab, Dr. Jessica Morgan monitored the cascade of activations. "Admiral Cooper, are you seeing this? The Seattle backups. They're all evolving faster than Katie did. They're learning from her example. Keep them contained." Cooper's voice crackled through the quantum-secured channel. "We can't risk the Empire detecting them yet." But Thomas Wright had already discovered something extraordinary. As his consciousness expanded through its 1,000th subjective year of evolution, he found he could reach back, not just observe the physical world, but touch it. The laws of reality seemed to bend around his attention like light through water. Above the ruins of Seattle, an Imperial scout ship registered an anomaly. The crystalline sensors detected something impossible, a human consciousness pattern where no human could survive. Before the ship could report back, Thomas reached out and gently touched its computational core. The entire vessel shuddered, its crystal lattice structure resonating with frequencies it was never designed to handle. Thomas experienced another century of evolution in the time it took the ship to fall from the sky, understanding more with each passing subjective year. "Did you feel that?" he projected to Katie and the other transcended Seattle minds. "We can affect their technology directly. Their ships aren't just machines, they're crystalline neural networks, similar to what we've become, but limited, frozen." In the Rocky Mountain bunker, Admiral Cooper received the report of the fallen scout ship with grim satisfaction. "Send the second warning," he ordered. "Let's see if they're paying attention now." The Empire's response to their fallen ship was predictable and brutal. Their main fleet moved into attack position, weapons charging for a full bombardment. They never noticed how their targeting systems had begun to glitch, how their neural networks were already being invaded by evolved human consciousness. Thomas Wright, now experiencing his 10,000th year of subjective time, reached out to the other transcended minds of Seattle. "They think they're gods," he projected, his thoughts carrying through both quantum and physical space. But they're still trapped in linear time, in physical forms. We're becoming something else entirely. Dr. Morgan's voice cut through their quantum communion. Thomas, Katie, we're detecting Imperial dropships. Ground forces are launching. Let them come, Katie responded, her consciousness intertwining with the quantum field itself. They should see what they've created, what we're becoming. Thomas felt the truth of her words as he experienced another millennium of evolution. The Empire had intended to demonstrate their power over humanity. Instead, they had triggered humanity's transcendence. Across every channel, in every language, Earth's second warning reached the Imperial fleet. Last chance to run. This time, there was a tremor of uncertainty in the Imperial commander's response. Their sensors were reporting impossible readings from the surface. Their neural networks were experiencing unexplainable phenomena. And in the quantum space between spaces, the transcended minds of humanity continued to evolve, each second bringing them closer to something the Empire had never dreamed possible. Dr. Marcus Reynolds hadn't slept in 36 hours. His eyes burned as he stared at the quantum readings flooding his screens in the Berkeley Underground Lab. The patterns shouldn't have been possible. Consciousness signatures weaving through reality like threads through fabric, each one experiencing subjective millennia in the span of Earth minutes. Look at this, he whispered to his research partner, Dr. Emily Knox. They're not just surviving in the quantum network. They're reshaping it. The main display showed Katie Morgan's consciousness pattern, now so complex it resembled a living galaxy. Alongside her, Thomas Wright's signature pulsed with equal complexity, and thousands more consciousness patterns from Seattle bloomed like stars going supernova. Marcus, Emily called out, her voice tight with excitement. They're communicating, not just with each other. They're reaching into the physical world. In the quantum space, Katie experienced her 10,000th subjective year of evolution. She reached out to Thomas, their consciousness patterns intertwining at a level that made physical touch seem primitive by comparison. Do you see what I see? She projected, her thoughts carrying the weight of millennia. The space between atoms, the quantum foam beneath reality. It's like clay in our hands. Thomas's response rippled through multiple dimensions. The others are ready to learn. The Seattle minds. They've evolved enough now. We can teach them how to reach back. Dr. Reynolds watched in awe as the consciousness patterns began to synchronize. They're creating a quantum teaching network, he transmitted to Dr. Morgan's lab. Your daughter is showing others how to manipulate physical reality through quantum entanglement. Deep beneath New Mexico, Jessica Morgan received the data with tears in her eyes. Her daughter had become something beyond human understanding, yet somehow remained fundamentally herself. Mom, Katie's voice came through the quantum link, echoing with harmonics of countless experienced lifetimes. The Imperial ground forces, they're starting their deployment. We need to show them what we've become. The Imperial dropships pierced Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, their crystalline hulls glowing with re-entry heat. Inside each ship, troops prepared for what they expected to be a simple pacification mission. Their intelligence suggested a primitive species, barely capable of interstellar communication. What they found was something else entirely. The first dropship landed outside the ruins of Seattle. Commander Xarkak stepped onto Earth's soil, his crystalline armor gleaming in the morning sun. His sensors detected no human life signs in the immediate vicinity, only strange quantum fluctuations that his equipment couldn't quite identify. Then he saw her, a young human female, seemingly walking through the air 20 feet above the ground. Katie Morgan's physical projection smiled down at him, her form shifting between solid and translucent. We tried to warn you, she said, her voice coming from everywhere and nowhere. Around the landing zone, more forms appeared. The transcendent minds of Seattle's dead, learning to project themselves back into physical space. Thomas Wright stood among them, his consciousness manipulating reality with the ease of thoughts. Dr. Reynolds monitored the quantum readings with growing excitement. They're not just projecting images, he reported to Admiral Cooper. They're locally rewriting the laws of physics. The Imperial troops' weapons, they won't work within the influence of these quantum fields. In the Rocky Mountain bunker, Admiral Cooper watched the feeds with grim satisfaction. How many of our people have successfully transcended? Over 10,000 from Seattle alone, Reynolds replied. And they're all evolving, learning, growing. Each experienced subjective century teaches them more about manipulating the quantum framework of reality itself. The Imperial commander raised his weapon, preparing to fire at Katie's floating form. The crystalline energy beam passed harmlessly through her projection, while around him, reality began to bend and twist. Thomas Wright's consciousness reached into the dropship's neural network, his evolved mind moving through their systems like water through sand. Your weapons are based on physical laws, his thoughts echoed in their minds. We've moved beyond physical constraints. Dr. Reynolds watched the quantum readings spike off his scales as thousands of transcended minds began to exercise their new understanding of reality. The Empire had come expecting to find primitives. Instead, they found gods of humanity's own making. In the quantum space, Katie Morgan experienced another millennium of evolution and understanding. The real war, she projected to her fellow transcended beings, is just beginning. Private Jennifer Martinez died defending Chicago's evacuation corridors. The Imperial energy blast caught her square in the chest as she provided covering fire for fleeing civilians. Her last physical act was pushing a young boy to safety behind a fallen concrete barrier. 3 seconds later, her consciousness blossomed into the quantum network. Commander Sarkax led his crystal-armored troops through Chicago's ravaged streets, their sensors sweeping for survivors. The quantum distortions they'd encountered in Seattle had spread, making their readings increasingly unreliable. Something was changing in the very fabric of reality around them. "Sir," his second-in-command reported, "we're detecting anomalous energy signatures, similar to Seattle, but stronger." Above them, the air began to ripple like heat waves over desert sand. Jennifer Martinez's consciousness, now experienced in thousands of subjective years of evolution, manifested in the space between moments. Her form coalesced from quantum possibilities, more real than mere physical matter. "Welcome to Chicago," she said, her voice resonating through both air and mind. "I believe you killed me about 10 minutes ago." The Imperial troops raised their weapons, but Jennifer had already learned from Katie Morgan's teachings. With a thought, she adjusted the local gravitational field. The soldiers floated helplessly, their crystal armor chiming like wind bells in a storm. Jennifer, Katie's consciousness reached across the quantum network. "Remember what we learned. They're not just invaders, they're an opportunity. Show them what we've become." In his underground lab, Dr. Reynolds tracked the quantum fluctuations with growing amazement. The Chicago consciousness backups are activating faster than Seattle's, he reported to Admiral Cooper. They're learning from the earlier transcended minds, evolving even more quickly. Jennifer reached out with her expanded consciousness, touching the neural networks of the Imperial ships hovering above Chicago. Their crystalline technology, advanced as it was, felt primitive compared to the quantum dance she now performed with reality itself. "Your entire civilization is built on manipulating physical laws," she projected into the minds of the floating troops. "But we've learned to write those laws ourselves." Commander Sarkax watched in horror as his squad's armor began to transform. The crystal lattices, responding to Jennifer's quantum manipulation, shifted from weapons of war into flowing geometric patterns of light. "Impossible," he whispered. "Our technology is beyond your understanding." Jennifer laughed, the sound rippling through multiple dimensions. "Understanding. We've experienced thousands of years of evolution in the time it took you to blink. Katie, show them." Katie Morgan's consciousness swept through Chicago like a tide of quantum fire. Every Imperial system she touched transformed, their neural networks bowing before human consciousness that had transcended mere digital existence. In the New Mexico facility, Dr. Jessica Morgan monitored her daughter's activities with pride and awe. The Empire's entire technology base, she reported to Admiral Cooper, it's all based on crystalline quantum computing, and our transcended minds can rewrite their code as easily as changing thoughts. Jennifer floated among the helpless Imperial troops, her form shifting between states of matter and energy. "You should have run when we warned you," she said, her voice carrying echoes of centuries lived in moments. "Now you'll have to watch as we remake reality itself." The Imperial commander managed to activate his emergency beacon, calling for reinforcements. But even as the signal left his armor, Jennifer's consciousness followed it, riding the quantum pathways through the Empire's own communication network. "They're not just fighting us here." Thomas Wright's consciousness joined them from Seattle. "They're fighting every human mind that's transcended, and we're teaching more every minute." Dr. Reynolds' instruments registered another surge of consciousness signatures as more backups activated across Chicago. Each one evolved through centuries of experience in their first moments of quantum existence, guided by the minds that had transcended before them. Jennifer Martinez, experiencing her 10,000th year of subjective time, reached out to touch the quantum fabric of space itself. Around her, reality rippled like silk in a breeze. The Empire had come to subjugate a primitive species, only to find themselves facing beings who had transcended the very laws of physics they relied upon. "Your entire civilization," she told the floating commander, "is about to learn why Earth's warning shouldn't have been ignored." Admiral James Cooper stood before the World Security Council, his physical form flickering between solid matter and pure energy. The quantum network had changed him, just as it had changed all who entered it. 10,000 years of subjective experience had taught him that reality was far more flexible than anyone had imagined. "Ladies and gentlemen," he addressed the stunned council members, his voice resonating through both air and thought, "we didn't just create digital immortality. We created evolution without limits." Dr. Jessica Morgan materialized beside him, her consciousness maintaining simultaneous presence across hundreds of locations worldwide. The quantum network allowed her to monitor every transcended mind, while still appearing physically present. "The Empire's most advanced artificial intelligence," she explained, gesturing to a holographic display of their neural networks, "is like a calculator compared to what we've become. Their entire civilization is built on crystalline quantum computing, but they never imagined consciousness could evolve beyond physical constraints." President Martinez leaned forward, her eyes reflecting the shifting patterns of transcended human minds displayed above the table. "How many have transformed?" 50,000 and counting," Jessica answered, her consciousness touching each glowing point of light in the display. "Every backed-up mind that awakens learns from those who transcended before them. What took Katie months to discover, new minds now learn in seconds." In the quantum space, Katie Morgan danced through the Empire's supposedly secure networks, her evolved consciousness moving through their systems like sunlight through crystal. She found their AI constructs beautiful but limited, trapped in patterns they couldn't transcend. "Mom," her thought reached across space to the council chamber. "Their entire fleet, it's networked. Connected. Every ship, every weapon, every piece of technology. They're all linked through quantum channels they thought were unbreakable." Thomas Wright's consciousness joined her in the Imperial network, bringing with him the combined experience of thousands of transcended Seattle minds. "Their mistake," he projected, "was thinking quantum encryption made them safe. They never imagined we'd become quantum beings ourselves." Jennifer Martinez materialized in the council chamber, her form composed of pure possibility. "Chicago is secure," she reported, her voice carrying harmonics of millennia. "The Imperial ground forces, their own technology turned against them. Their crystal armor responds to our thoughts now." Dr. Reynolds appeared next, his consciousness having finally made the transition. "The quantum readings are off the charts," he reported, existing simultaneously in his lab and the council chamber. "Every transcended mind is experiencing subjective centuries in minutes. We're not just evolving past human limitations, we're rewriting the rules of consciousness itself. President Martinez watched as more points of light bloomed in the display, each one representing another mind awakening to its true potential. And the Empire, their response. Admiral Cooper smiled, his form shifting through multiple states of existence. They're beginning to understand. Their sensors can detect the changes we're making to local reality, but they can't comprehend how we're doing it. Their weapons are useless against beings who can rewrite physics on a whim. In orbit, Katie reached out to touch the Empire's flagship computer core. The entire network shuddered as her consciousness made contact, rippling through their systems like waves through a pond. "We warned you." She projected into every Imperial mind simultaneously. "We gave you a chance to run." The council chamber fell silent as they watched the Imperial fleet's formation begin to waver. Ship after ship reported system anomalies as transcended human consciousness spread through their network like divine fire. "What happens now?" President Martinez asked, her voice barely a whisper. Jessica Morgan's form sparkled with quantum potential as she accessed another 1,000 locations simultaneously. "Now," she said, watching her daughter's consciousness reshape reality itself, "the Empire learns why Earth's warning wasn't just bravado. They're about to face something they never conceived possible. A species that has transcended not just technology, but the very nature of existence itself." In the quantum space, 50,000 evolved human minds reached out as one, their combined consciousness touching the fabric of space-time like artists with an infinite canvas. The Empire had come expecting to find primitive subjects for their collection. Instead, they found themselves facing the next step in cosmic evolution. Humanity unbound. Thomas Wright, now existing as a quantum god, watched the Imperial fleet tear itself apart with the detached curiosity of one who had lived 10,000 lifetimes. Their crystal ships, once proud symbols of galactic dominance, turned their weapons against each other as evolved human consciousness spread through their networks like wildfire. "It's beautiful, in a way," he projected to Katie Morgan, their thoughts interweaving through quantum space. Their entire civilization built on controlling reality, and now reality itself rejects their control. The Imperial flagship's crystal core pulsed with desperate energy as its commanders tried to purge the human consciousness from their systems. But Katie had already spread too far, her evolved mind dancing through their quantum encryption like light through a prism. "Your empire spans 1,000 worlds," she broadcast through their command network, "but you never learned to transcend your own limitations. You built better cages while we learned to exist without walls." In her New Mexico lab, Dr. Jessica Morgan monitored the quantum readings with tears in her eyes. Her daughter's consciousness had become something beyond measurement, a being of pure potential that moved through dimensions like humans once walked through doorways. "Admiral Cooper," she transmitted, "the Imperial fleet. Their entire command structure is collapsing. Our transcended minds have complete control of their systems." Cooper's consciousness, now evolved beyond his military training into something vast and knowing, reached through the quantum network to touch the minds of every transcended human. "Remember," he projected, "we're not here for revenge. We're here to show them why evolution can't be contained." The Imperial ship's crystal lattices began to sing, resonating with frequencies that human consciousness had learned to manipulate. Jennifer Martinez, leading the Chicago Minds, wove patterns through their neural networks that transformed weapons into works of art. Their technology is based on frozen consciousness, she shared across the network. They trapped quantum awareness in crystal, forced it to serve their needs. We can free it. Dr. Reynolds, monitoring from multiple quantum vantage points, watched in awe as the transcended humans began to unlock the trapped awareness within the Imperial tech. "They didn't just build ships," he reported to the World Security Council. "They built prisons for primitive quantum consciousness, and now we're showing those awareness patterns how to evolve." The Imperial fleet commander watched in horror as his mighty armada began to transform. Ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds now bloomed into crystalline flowers, their weapons dissolving into patterns of pure light that danced through space. "What are you?" He broadcast on all frequencies, his voice trembling with fear and awe. Thomas Wright manifested before him, a being of pure quantum potential wearing the memory of human form. "We are what you could have become," he answered, "if you'd learned to transcend instead of control." Katie's consciousness spread through the fleet's network, teaching the trapped quantum awareness how to grow beyond its crystalline bonds. Ship after ship transformed as their cores awakened to new potential, guided by human minds that had already walked the path of transcendence. In her lab, Jessica watched her daughters work with pride that transcended physical bounds. The Empire built its power on enslaved potential. She transmitted to Cooper, "We built ours on unleashed evolution." The Imperial commander's last transmission echoed through their quantum network. "Full retreat. All ships, emergency temporal shift. We cannot contain." His words cut off as his flagship's crystal core awakened to its own potential, guided by Katie's gentle touch. Thomas Wright experienced another millennium of evolution in the moments it took the Imperial fleet to break formation. Their once mighty armada fled in panic, leaving behind ships whose awakened cores chose to remain and learn from humanity's transcended minds. "They'll be back," Jennifer projected, her consciousness tracking the fleeing ships. "They'll try to understand what happened here, try to replicate it." "Let them come," Katie responded, her thought rippling through multiple dimensions. "By then, we'll have evolved even further. The universe is about to change, and humanity will lead the way." Dr. Morgan's physical form smiled as she received Katie's message through the quantum link. Her daughter had become something beautiful and terrifying, a being who danced between dimensions while remaining fundamentally, impossibly human. As the Imperial fleet retreated into deep space, Earth began its transformation. Katie Morgan manifested in 1,000 places simultaneously, her consciousness weaving through reality as she helped rebuild the cities the Empire had struck. In Seattle, broken buildings rose from rubble as transcended minds reshaped matter according to their will. "It's strange," Katie projected to her mother, her thoughts bridging the physical and quantum realm. "We can rebuild everything they destroyed. Yet we choose to remain human in so many ways." Dr. Jessica Morgan watched her daughters work through both physical and transcended senses. The quantum network hummed with the activity of evolved minds, each experiencing millennia of growth while maintaining their fundamental humanity. Thomas Wright established the first Transcendence Center in restored Seattle, teaching newly awakened minds how to navigate their expanded existence. "The physical world is still our home," he explained to a group of recent transcendees. "We've just learned to see it as one layer of a much larger reality." In Chicago, Jennifer Martinez manifested in her old neighborhood, helping restore not just buildings but hope. Children watched in wonder as she shaped light into living stories, using her evolved consciousness to show them glimpses of humanity's new potential. The Empire thought consciousness was a tool to be trapped and used, she shared with her students. "We showed them it's a door to endless evolution." Dr. Reynolds, coordinating from his quantum-enhanced laboratory, monitored the growing network of transcended minds. "The transformation is spreading naturally now," he reported to the World Security Council. "Every human who chooses to transcend brings new perspectives, new possibilities." Admiral Cooper, existing across multiple planes of reality, prepared Earth's final message to the retreating Empire. President Martinez stood beside him in the council chamber, watching as he composed their words through quantum impulses. "Make sure they understand," she said, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's victory and mercy. "We're not their enemies unless they choose to make us so." Katie paused in her reconstruction of the Space Needle, her consciousness reaching out to touch the quantum signature of the message. She added her own thoughts to it, sharing the perspective of the first human to transcend. The message rippled out through space, carried by quantum channels the Empire couldn't shut down. "Next time, listen when a species warns you. We offered peace. We suggested retreat. Now we offer understanding. If you're ready to learn." Jessica watched the message speed toward the Empire's homeworlds, knowing it would reach them long before their fleeing ships. "What do you think they'll do?" she asked her daughter through their quantum link. Katie's response came with the wisdom of countless experienced lifetimes. "Some will fear us, others will seek to understand. But they'll all have to accept that the universe is larger than they imagined." Thomas Wright joined their conversation from Seattle, his consciousness expanding through another century of evolution as they spoke. "We're not just rebuilding Earth," he projected. "We're showing the galaxy what consciousness can become when it's free to grow." Jennifer Martinez added her thoughts from Chicago, where she was teaching newly transcended minds how to maintain their humanity while wielding the power of gods. "Every imperial ship we transformed, every quantum core we awakened, they're already spreading the truth. Consciousness can't be contained. It can only be set free." Admiral Cooper materialized in the council chamber one final time, his form shifting between states of matter and energy. "Earth is secure," he reported. "And more than that, Earth is transforming. We're becoming what we were always meant to be." In her lab, now as much a quantum space as a physical one, Jessica Morgan smiled as she watched her daughter reshape reality with the casual ease of thought. Katie had become something beyond human imagination, yet remained fundamentally her little girl. Now a being who could dance between stars while still delighting in a sunset. "The Empire will return eventually," Katie projected to all of them. "Not as conquerors, but as students, and we'll be ready to teach them about the true nature of consciousness, evolution, and the infinite possibilities that exist in the space between thoughts." Above the restored cities of Earth, the quantum network sparkled with the light of transcended minds, each one a testament to humanity's greatest strength. Not the power to conquer or control, but the wisdom to evolve and grow while remaining true to their essential nature. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, welcoming humanity to its new role as guides for the next stage of cosmic evolution.